So there are connectivity projects worth 42,000 crore rupees. Highways, tunnels, expressways that are in the works in Jammu and Kashmir and in Ladakh. Z-Morh Tunnel, done. Zojila Tunnel, likely to be completed by 2028. There are 14 tunnel projects that are currently under construction. They're in the pipeline. Now, Lal Chowk, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, you heard him saying, sees tourists late at night. Ice cream khane log jate hain. Gulmarg is the winter capital, is the capital of winter games. 19 Khelo India centers. Are Naya Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh here? Can Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror and Chinese expansionism? Remember, they work in tandem at times. Radical Islamist terror from Pakistan and Chinese expansionism or China funding Pakistani terror. Can they still derail the India growth story? Joining me on this special broadcast is Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain. General Hasnain commanded the Kashmir Corps. Professor Brahma Chilani is one of India's best respected strategic affairs analysts. General Vinod Bhatia is former Director General of Military Operations, and Dr. Tara Kartha is former Director at the National Security Council Secretariat. And General Hasnain, what does the Z-Morh Tunnel signify for you? You commanded the Srinagar Corps and you were deployed along Pangong So in Ladakh as a commanding officer. With the Zojila Tunnel by 2028, is this a game changer? It impacts LOC, LAC and the AGPL, General.
Gaurav, thank you for inviting me for this wonderful program. No doubt, this is a game changer, a transformational event which is taking place at the moment. While I was there, or 15 to 20 years ago, it was very clear that Ladakh was entirely dependent upon the whole concept of, was placing enough logistics there, which was dependent upon the movement over these various roads which we have been talking about just now. And we used to wait for 6 months for it to open. From October to March, April, the roads used to open, and only then we had a very short period in which we could carry out our dumping of our logistics. What you're seeing at the moment here is the beginning is actually, in fact, this is progressively going to keep on improving. What we are looking at primarily is at the moment at a reduction of the time span in which the area of Ladakh is going to be cut off from the rest of India. You see, with this opening of the stretch from Gagangir to Sonamarg, first of all, Sonamarg itself doesn't have to be evacuated. It will remain there. The population can stay put there. It can open up and become an alternative tourism center to Gulmarg.
Yes.
And at the same time, as we progress towards the Zojila Tunnel inauguration in 2028, we can witness the fact that Ladakh will be 24/7, 365 days of the year. We can have vehicular movement and carrying out our entire dumping in the process. Just remember, I would like to just tell your viewers, it takes many times 10 to 12 days for a single vehicle to go from Pathankot up to Ladakh and back. Now, if you are doing this on a 24/7 basis, 365 days of the year, that will not cause such a major problem for you.
Yes.
Otherwise, there was always a race against time to be able to build up your logistics in Ladakh.
And before I bring in Professor Brahma Chilani, I also want to bring in General Bhatia into this conversation. General Bhatia, what do you make of the Chinese military exercises that are currently underway, exercises that are apparently being spearheaded by a regiment of the Xinjiang Military Command? We are told that the Chinese are showcasing military technology, ATVs, their all-terrain vehicles, their unmanned systems, their exoskeletons designed to enhance soldier mobility and endurance in extreme high altitude. So what's China's big signal right now?
See, despite the disengagement on the 21st October, which is decided upon and which has happened, and which is a very good move forward, however, China's posturing has not ended. China's strategic intent and aim to contain India is still there. So China will do what it is doing, and every day you find Chinese on the social media, on the media, new technology being demonstrated to China, the sixth generation stealth fighter being demonstrated to China. So this is part of the China's three warfares, which is legal warfare, which is public opinion, which is psychological warfare. So you find this happening almost on a daily basis, regular basis, and we are giving vent to it actually. But that is only posturing. I don't think China has learned its lessons from 2020, 2024, 4.5 years of deployment we have raised the cost and consequence of China, and for the first time after 1979, China has gone back. If you look at China's strategy, has always been one, claim, which is claimed in 1957 onwards; two, occupy, which it occupied in 2020 and earlier also; three, legalize; and fourth is integrate. Right.
Okay.
So it has occupied, and now for the first time after occupation, it has gone back to the claimed areas.
Okay.
Right.
So you're saying it's parts of psychological warfare. But, if I could bring in Professor Brahma Chilani. Professor Chilani, the Chinese Xinjiang military command exercise that's taking place right now, the display of their all-terrain vehicles, their drones, their enhanced soldier mobility, their so-called extreme high-altitude endurance. What do you make of the Chinese exercises?
Well, what we are seeing on one hand, there have been these moves to improve Sino-Indian relations, conciliatory moves by both sides. On the other side, we're seeing provocative actions by China. We've seen a series of such provocative actions by China since the Xi Jinping, Narendra Modi meeting. For example, recently the Chinese created 2 new counties that incorporated parts of Indian Ladakh. Then they announced this new super dam project, which actually was approved in March 2021. But apparently the work is well underway, and now they are unveiling their project, the fact that they're trying to present it as a fait accompli to India. And now these war games right on the border with India. So these provocative actions suggest that that true reconciliation between China and India is still far away. And I think we need to factor in these realities. We need to understand that the Chinese are determined to pursue their interests, which basically mean that they will not treat India as an equal. They will seek to contain India. Their strategy from the very beginning has been to engage India while seeking to contain India at the same time, simultaneously. So engagement with containment has been their strategy, and it's very clear.
But is that strategy actually working, Dr. Tara Kartha? Because China was extremely upset first with the Sela tunnel, now with the Z-Morh tunnel, and then in 3 years the Zojila tunnel. Is India able to send across that message that India cannot be and will not be contained? India means business. How would China be reading India's infrastructure development?
I think on the slightly lighter side, the fact that the Chinese came and attacked us has led to the opening of Kashmir to India. It is not just us reaching there. It is the Kashmiris reaching us. That is what we needed to do, and we've done it. So whatever China can say, whatever it likes, for us, when we say game changer, it is the Kashmiris that you are winning over. And the fact that, those the statistics which you just talked about, terrorists, so many things, foreign terrorists, the number of local terrorists are extremely low because there's so much happening. As the Prime Minister said, there are people, like when I went to Srinagar earlier, there was nowhere you could go for a cup of tea, hang out, face, everything is come up. This is a battle for Kashmir. Keep aside China for the moment. But what China did is helped us to win our battle in Kashmir. So that is the height of irony. But having said that, the terrorism game is not over. It is not over at all. And I hope we don't take our eyes off that ball, which is Pakistan. Please remember that whole Karakoram realignment project brings the highway absolutely into Muzaffarabad. There's a Shanta tunnel which is being constructed, made into 4-lane. For the first time, you'll have connectivity from Gilgit-Baltistan into what's so-called Azad Kashmir, which means that the Chinese, if they want to come in, they're going to come in straight into Muzaffarabad. So the game is not over by a long chalk.
Okay. General Hasnain, is that also your assessment? I'll come to J&K and terrorism in just a moment. But this link between the China-Pakistan economic corridor, the infrastructure development, India's counter strategy, are we keeping pace or is the adversary still in a position, and especially when you have two hostile neighbors, are they in a position to outmaneuver us?
Well, you can see, Gaurav, you mentioned those 14 tunnels that you were talking of at that time. Many of these tunnels also link up the line of control. For example, the Gurez Valley. Yes. You have the Razdan and the Kanzalwan area through which you are going to get 24/7 connectivity in the very near future. But I fully share the concern which Taraji is mentioning here. There is no doubt that China will make efforts to circumvent, go around, surround you from different directions in every possible way. They may not come down to war fighting. As very correctly assessed by all my fellow panelists here, it is psychological warfare. When you enhance your capability, you impinge on your adversary, your capability, and get him worried. That's his whole intent. We are doing the same at this time, on our side as far as infrastructure development is concerned. And I think we are matching him for project to project.